What's up, WPT YouTube channel? My name is Wolfgang and I'm playing a 5, 10, 25, 50, 100 live stream game down in Austin, Texas at the Lodge Card Club. It's an action-packed match to stack game full of all-ins and rebuys. You definitely don't want to miss the hand where I pull off a crazy 5-bet and then later on go for a 3-street $6,500 river bluff against a sticky opponent. We start off the night with a $2,000 buy-in and immediately get into the action here. High opens it up to 75, Cinnabon 3-bets to 250, Big Daddy Chaz 4-bets to 550, and I look down at ace 10 offsuit here from the straddle. I decide to jam my entire stack all in here, trying to show the stream that I came to play, give a little bit of action, but unfortunately Big Daddy Chaz wakes up with ace king offsuit here and puts in the call. We're gonna run the board out one time and I'm calling for chop outs immediately. Deuce, deuce, deuce on the flop. The turn comes the 5 of hearts and the river 7 of diamonds. So unfortunately Big Daddy Chaz is gonna double up the rust, but the beauty of this match to stack game means I can immediately come in for $4,000 more. In this next hand, I raised the cutoff with ace king offsuit. Cinnabon and Big Daddy Chaz both put in the call, leading us off to a flop which comes queen, jack, deuce, all diamonds. I have the king of diamonds in my hand, so I decided to go for a 10% pot size bet here of $75. Actions on Cinnabon, and he now raises to $300, and when it comes back around to me having the king of diamonds and the gut shot to Broadway, I decide to put in the call. The turn comes a brick, being the 7 of clubs. There's $1,200 in the middle, and Cinnabon wants to play for all of it, at least everything that's in front of him. He jams all in for $1,155, and now I'm in a tough spot. Sure, I have the king high flush draw and a gutter, but it's likely he has 2 pair, maybe a set of deuces or a flopped flush. So after a little bit of thinking, I think better of it and decide to fold my cards. And we can all now see that he indeed did flop the 7 high flush, 7-6 of diamonds. So a good call there by me on the flop, but I gotta fold that turn and save a little bit of money. All right, this next hand's a blast. There's a raise to $100 from DQ. Actions on me, and I look down at the Cowboys. Immediately, I have to come in for a 3-bet. It would be a crime not to in the state of Texas with the Cowboys. I make it $300 to go. High in the small blind now cold calls my 3-bet, which is an interesting play in and of itself. Actions back over to DQ, and he wants to play for all of it. 22.95 is the effective shove. Obviously, I'm loving life here. I have the second best hand ever created, and we have a player in the hand being high who just cold called my raise, so hopefully we can get stacks in here and play a nice 3-way pot. Of course, I go all in for $2,600 effective, and high snap calls. He turns over pocket jack, so an interesting way to play those, and DQ is in a tough spot here with ace 10 offsuit. When you're multi-way, the percentage chance that you win the pot goes way down because the equities are spread amongst the other players. Still, I will definitely take this spot here, 57% chance to win a $7,500 pot, and we are going to run this board out one time. The flop comes pretty good, queen 7-7 rainbow, not too much for DQ or high to look forward to. The turn comes the 8 of hearts, and the river card gives me the pot. It comes the queen of hearts. Look at that, $7,500 being pushed over my way. And you know that we drove down from Dallas with a few bang stickers in our bag. This is my first ever 3-way bang here. I bang high first and then walk all the way around to DQ to put on a beautiful red bang sticker on his chest as well.
Wolfgang! Putting stickers on people.
Yeah, thank you.
All I had to do was call, then I could have folded.
It's a long game, DQ.
I know.
All right, as if the action wasn't good enough here on the Lodge live stream, we're playing the knit game, and look at that, we are heads up with my buddy Dan on my left. So when the action folds back around to me in the straddle position, I decide to jam it all in his face, $2,400 effective, and Dan thinks about it for a little while before putting in the call. It's a good old-fashioned 62-38% chance to win this here. Jack 8 of spades versus 7-5 of clubs. The dealer puts out the first 3 cards, and there's a 7 in the window. Dan's gonna outflop us until the other 2 cards come a queen and an 8. We take back the lead. The turn comes the Jack of Diamonds, and the river 10 of Diamonds seals his fate. We're taking down this $4,900 pot, and better than that, we get to pull out yet another bang sticker. There's bang stickers all across the table. I was stuck 2K early, but as of right now, we are up 38.45 and cruising along in this live stream. The action at the lodge has been nuts, just like it was in my most recent session of online poker on the brand new site for US players called ClubWPT Gold. If you use promo code Wolfgang, you get early access to the site along with a chance to win a share of all my profits during the sessions that I stream. There's a link down in the description box to play, but I've been running hot on the site so far. The action is great and the players are really splashy. In this session, I gave away $150 to 3 lucky people. I've been playing mostly 1, 2, 4, and 50 cent, $1, $2, and it's completely legal in 46 of the 50 states. Here's a video of me showing you how easy it is to purchase gold coins, which gives you the sweeps coins, which are redeemable for cash. This can be done just like any other online transaction with just your credit card. If you want to play for cash prizes, you play poker at the green sweeps coins tables. I've also been receiving sweeps coins bonuses for every day I've logged on and played, all for free. When you're done playing and want to cash out, you go to your wallet and redeem your sweeps coins straight to your bank account, and it's just that easy. There is a requirement to play each sweeps coins over once before redemption, but as you can see, it's pretty easy to satisfy that. I'm currently up over $1,500, and soon they're going to open up the site for everyone to play, even Canadians. But if you want to get in early and start now, make sure you use code Wolfgang for an early access and a share of all my profits. And did I mention that none other than Phil Ivey is going to start doing meetups and playing on the site regularly? Hope to see you guys on the tables. Next hand, Cinnabon opens it up to $75, and there's a few calls over to me. I look down at Jack 9 offsuit from the button, and I decided to get a little bit spicy here and raise it up to $350. We're gonna get 3 callers here, or should I say customers. Dan, DQ, and Z-Fish all put in the call, and we flop ourselves second pair on a King 9-3 rainbow board. When the action checks to me, I decide to check behind here. The turn comes the 10 of hearts, and now the action checks over to me for a second time. Given the fact I now have third pair and a gut shot to the straight, I decide to check behind and see what the river brings in, which is a pretty good card. It's a board pairing king of clubs. I think I'm gonna have the best hand here pretty often, and it checks around to me once again, confirming my suspicions. While I'm thinking about going for a small value bet here, very thin, Dan looks over at me and says that I'm gonna go for a bet here and calls out the exact amount, $450.
What you gonna do?
He's gonna check.
He's gonna bet $450.
I was going to go a little bit larger than this, trying to target any 3 or a pocket pair like 4s, 5s, or 6s, maybe even an ace high that doesn't believe me. But when he puts out into the universe that I should bet $450, I think it's a pretty funny thing to do. So I fire exactly $450, and DQ likes it. He puts in the call with 4-3 of spades, calls me super light here. And thank you, Dan, for making me a little bit of extra money there. A $2,400 pot being pushed over my way. All right, pocket 9s get dealt our way. We're gonna play them. This time I decide to limp for $50. There's a bunch of other limpers, so we're going extremely multi-way to a flop here, which comes King 5-3 with 2 spades. I decided to bet out for $50 here and find out exactly where I'm at. If someone has a king or a spade draw, they might put in a raise. So when Cinnabon just calls, DQ calls, and Z-Fish decides to call as well, kind of in an interesting spot here where no one wants to fold, but no one wants to put more money in the middle. I think my opponents are pretty capped. The turn now comes a 5 of hearts, which isn't the best card because a lot of hands like 5-6, 5-4 will have called on the flop and now outturned me, so to speak. So when the action checks over to Z-Fish, he fires out for $350. This is indicative of a 5, but I decide to put in the call, just not giving him too much credit. He still could have a spade flush draw. He also could have a straight draw like 6-7 being a gutter. And I've played with Z-Fish a bunch up at TCH in Dallas. Cinnabon's in a weird spot here with King 7 offsuit. Z-Fish leads out on the 5. I put in the call after betting the flop, so he decides to fold his top pair. DQ folds as well. In the river now comes the 8 of hearts. Actions on Z-Fish, and with $1,100 in the middle, he does not give up here and wave the white flag. Instead, he fires out for $850, putting me in kind of a tough spot. If I'm being completely honest, the hands I'm putting him on here are not a king. It would contain a 5 in it. That would make the most amount of sense. Or of course, a busted spade draw. I think there's way more busted spade draws than a 5x in Z-Fish's range here. So I decide to put in the call here. I get a little bit sticky. If I'm wrong, thousands of people on this Lodge live stream will see me put in the money bad. But the good news for me is when I put in the call, he turns over 6-3 offsuit, exposing just a pair of 3s, pocket 9s. Great call there by me. $2,820 is my reward for getting a little bit sticky in that hand in a spot that I think a lot of people probably fold either the turn or river. All right, the nit game is back on, and because I won that last hand, I'm safe. I do not have to pay any bounties, but my good friend Z-Fish on my right is still in the game, so he decided to raise it up to $700 here over a few $50 calls. It's definitely a large raise here, but I have pocket 9s, and that's going to be ahead of a lot of hands like king queen, queen jack, ace king. You know, technically I'm flipping versus those hands, but I like my chances here with pocket 9s, so I decide to put in the call. We are going heads up to the flop, which comes queen 4-4. At the end of the day, this is not that bad of a flop. Sure, he's going to have some queens in his hands, but he's also going to have hands like ace jack, ace king, ace 10, pocket 8s, pocket 7. So when he jams all in here for $1,600, we already know that he's a fun splashy player, so I decide to give him a little bit more action here with pocket 9s once again. This time though, we get it in bad. He has a 92% chance to win it because he has queen jack offsuit. I was thinking about ripping it in pre-flop, but he was going to call and outflop me anyways, so let's see 2 more cards. Dealer, please, I need a 9 to win. The turn is no help. It comes a 5 of clubs, and the river 7 of diamonds seals my fate. This nearly $5,000 pot is going over to Z-Fish. I'm 1 for 1 with pocket 9s, and Z-Fish gets rid of his nasty nit button. All right, what is the cure when you lose a hand? Well, pick up your favorite one. That might do the trick. Pocket 7s is my favorite hand for those of you guys that are unfamiliar with my channel, which, by the way, you guys should go check out. It's Wolfgang Poker on YouTube and Instagram. I post a lot of fun videos like this, and people like me for my shorts as well. DQ raises up the small blind to 230, and I decide to put in the call. The flop comes ace 4-4 with 2 hearts, and the action goes check, check. The turn comes a 6 of hearts, bringing in the front door heart draw, and DQ now leads out into me for $350. Looking down at my favorite hand, I'm not going to fold to just one continuation bet. I decide to put in the $350, and now the river comes the 5 of diamonds. DQ does not slow down. There's $1,200 in the middle, and he bets out small here for $425. This could be a flush. This could be an ace. This could be a hand like pocket queens or kings, trying to get a little bit of thin value, but pocket 7s has never let me down. I put in the call, and he turns over queen 10 of diamonds. No good, DQ. No good. This $2,000 pot being pushed over my way, and ladies and gentlemen, that is a masterclass on how to play my favorite hand, pocket 7s. All right, hand number 67 starts with a Cinnabon raise here from the button. Actions on me with king queen offsuit, and will I decide to call? Will I go for a 3-bet? I decide to play this one a little bit slow here and just call out of the straddle. Dan decides to call as well. We're going 3 ways to a flop here, which gives me top pair on a king 10-8 board, and the action checks over to Cinnabon. Into $800 comes a C-bet of $250, and I put in the call. Dan calls as well. I think at this point he's going to have some hands like pocket 9s, maybe a queen jack suited type of hand. He also could have a hand like jack 10 suited as well. So when the turn comes to 4 of clubs and I start with a check, Dan now leads out into Cinnabon, who was the pre-flop raiser and the flop C-better. A very interesting line. It's not a small bet at that. $750, and that gets Cinnabon to fold ace jack offsuit. Actions back over to me with top pair. It seems like a pretty clear call. I brought Dan to this game. I know how he plays. He plays pretty good. He's a very good player out in the Tampa area, and if he's betting here on the turn, he's definitely going to follow through on the river. So the question is, do I want to call 750 here to maybe face a 2 to 4K bet on the river? Will I be able to hold on with king queen offsuit? He could have pocket 8s, pocket 10s, king 10, king 8. He could have queen jack for a bluff. He could have a hand like ace queen suited, jack 10 suited for a bluff, but I decide to fold my top pair. If I know that he's checking behind on the river, of course I'm going to call, but I think Dan's going to follow through, and he later confirmed after the session he was in fact going to follow through with jack 10 of hearts. What a lead there by Dan. He gets Cinnabon to fold ace jack, and he gets me to fold the better hand. I promise you guys the rest of the hand in this vlog will not be as nitty. This was an exploitative fold that went wrong. You saw earlier in the session I'm making some good calls with pocket sevens and pocket nines. Well, that's poker. Sometimes you flop top pair and give your opponent credit for a better hand, only for them to show you second pair with a gut shot to the straight. All right, time to regain back some of your loyalty. I know some of you guys are like, holy crap, Wolfgang, that was a tight fold, but just wait here. Jack 8 of spades from the hijack. I raise it up to 155 and Vixen puts in the call. High now 3 bets to 500. DQ calls, I call, and Vixen decides to fold her cards. We are going 3 ways to the flop here on an ace jack 6 all heart board. Actions on high. He was the pre-flop c-better and starts with a check. Action checks through. I'm not going to take the bait until the turn. Now comes the queen of hearts. Actions on high, and he checks once again. DQ now fires out very small for $100, and this is just screaming a really weak play in my mind. I don't think he's ever betting this small with a king of hearts or maybe even a 10 of hearts. I think this is 2 pair or maybe a set of 6s at best. So when you think someone's weak, it's time to take advantage of it. I'm going to make up for that last hand where I folded top pair. Let's come in for a raise here with just a pair of jacks with no heart. Although I do have a heart in my chest, I make it $550 to go, and the action's over too high. He decides to put in the call, and sure enough, DQ folds. I thought that was a surefire thing that was going to happen. When he bets small, he just can't call a raise there. And but now we have to battle with high. Off to a river in a 3K pot, and it comes the 9 of diamonds. High checks it over to me, and I got to follow through. When I raise the turn, I'm representing a heart flush. So there's $2,900 in the middle, and I go for a nice chunky size bet here of $2,000. What a hand. He turned a set of queens. There are 4 hearts out there. King 10 has a straight, and he folds. We're going to win a profit of $1,850 in this hand. A nice follow through there on the river, making up for that last hand. So I hope we got pocket queens to fold a set on this board with just Jack 8 of spades.
Nice bet there from Wolfgang. Gets the job done.
You screwed it up. Because I thought for sure. I thought for sure.
Let's not pass the blame on anyone else. You know, everyone had their chance to screw it up.
All right, this hand is quite possibly one of the more interesting ones of the session. There's a $100 straddle out there, and DQ raises it up blind to $350. The action's on me. I'm in the small blind with the beautiful ace 5 of clubs. Of course, I have to come in for a 3-bet, and I decided to go $1,100. In hindsight, I probably should go a little bit larger, like $1,200 to $1,400. The action's over too high. He's in the $50 straddle, and he decides to 4-bet to $2,500. When DQ folds his cards 6-7 offsuit, after all, he was blind, the action's back over to me. Now let's think about this hand for a second. There's a $100 straddle, a blind raise from DQ, so my raise doesn't have to be that strong. High knows this, and he comes in for a 4-bet. Usually 4-bets are super strong, but when he knows that I'm just taking advantage of DQ's blind raise, well, he can 4-bet a little more liberally. So when the action's back around to me, I think I can get some folds here if I come in for a very strong 5-bet, and that's what I decide to do. He bet $2,500. Let's make it $6,000 to go, a little bit more than a min click. He thinks about it for a little while. I'm not sure if he's thinking about getting another bank sticker on his chest, but ultimately decides to rip it all in for $91.55. It's only $3,155 more dollars for me to call, so of course I have to snap it off here. Even if we're up against a hand like kings, queens, or jacks, you gotta put in the money here. It's only 3K more to call. Unfortunately for us though, even though we have an ace in our hand, he has 2 in his. So very unfortunate there. The ace of clubs blocker did not come into play, and we are playing an $18,705 pot, a crazy one at that, and we are gonna run it 2 times because it's a big pot. The first board does not run out good for me. It comes king 7-4, 10-10. Good news for us though is we have a second board to look forward to, and the flop comes jack 8-6. The turn and river are no good for me, and high is going to take down a nearly $19,000 pot. Was this a punt? Was this a good play here, trying to take advantage of high and out level him? Well, in the short term, this was an absolute disaster, a massive punt. I feel like my buddy Rampage here, and we went from being up around $3,000 on the session to now being down almost $5,000. It's a good thing we have more chips in our pocket. I pull out $9,000. At this point, I'm in for $15,000. We're going to play a hand here with Zfesh and Dan. When there's a raise to $150, I put in the call and Dan calls as well. I flop my myself top pair on a 10-7-3 board, and Z-Fish bets out for 250. I put in the call, and Dan decides to fold heads up to the turn, which now comes a pretty good card for Z-Fish's range. It's the ace of diamonds with 965 in the middle. He overbets now for $1,050, putting me in a tough spot. What kind of bluffs do I think he could have here? Maybe 8-9, maybe a hand like pocket sixes, king queen, king jack, queen jack of clubs or diamonds. It is Z-Fish after all. Compared to the rest of the players, he's going to have a lot of bluffs, so I decided to call here with my now second pair. It was top pair on the flop. The ace of diamonds changed that, but another ace on the river now gives me hope that my pair of tens is good. Why do you say that? Well, it makes it a lot less likely he has an ace in his hand because now two of them are on the board. There's only two other aces left in the deck, so let's see what he decides to do here on the river. In my head, I'm telling myself if he goes for a bet, I have to put in the call given the fact that the ace paired. But when he checks over to me, I decide to take my showdown value and turn over queen 10 offsuit. He exposes 8-9 offsuit, so he flopped himself an open-ended straight draw, went forward on the turn, but gave up on the bad river card. Unfortunately for me, he couldn't pull the trigger once more because I was surely making some more money there, and we get rewarded with that nice little pot. Right before we get into this next hand, I have to let you know I topped up for an additional $4,000. It's matched the stack. I want to get deep here with all of these fish. Speaking of fish, Z-Fish from the hijack raises it up to $150. I look down at a premium ace king of spades and decide to 3-bet him to $450. He puts in the call out of position. Off to a flop we go, which comes 9-8-5 rainbow. Action goes check check, and the turn comes the 3 of diamonds. He checks it over to me for a second time. I think about going for a bet here, but I check behind because I know the river card is going to give me top pair, coming the king of hearts. He leads out into me for $450, and I think most people would just find the call here. There's 3 hearts out there. The board's pretty connected, some 2 pairs, some sets, all that possibility and jazz. But I made top pair best kicker. I could get value from a hand like king 10, king 7, king jack. So I decided to go for a raise here and make it $1,100 to go, just barely over a min raise, targeting a hand like a bad king, maybe pocket tens, maybe a 9-10, 9-7 type of hand. And sure enough, we see that Z-Fish has jack 9 offsuit, thinks about it for a little while, puts in the call. That money is not coming back into his stack. He takes a sip of wine, but I am taking his chips. We're in for $19,000 and now only stuck around 3K at this point. Right, 2 more hands to go in this vlog, and both of them are bangers. I look down at 4-5 of clubs and decide to 3-bet it up to $225. Z-Fish puts in the call and High puts in the call, going 3 ways to the flop here on an ace 10-7 2-spade board. When the action checks over to me, there's $700 in the middle, and I decide to go for a C-bet here of $100. High puts in the call, and the turn now gives me a double gutter. Any deuce or any 6 will now give me the straight when it comes to the 3 of hearts. High checks it over to me. I go for a second bet here. I think this is a great card to barrel on. And 920 in the middle, I go for a nice sizing here of 500 and Cinco de Mayo, $555. When the action comes back around to High, he doesn't think about it for too long before check raising it up to $1,400. Just a word of the wise here. Anytime an opponent check raises on the turn, it's usually pretty strong. At this point, I'm putting him on pocket 7s, pocket 3s, ace 3, ace 7 would be his most likely holdings. But I have a very disguised hand. I 3-bet pre-flop and bet the flop with 5-4 offsuit. So I decided to put in the call here. If we spike a deuce or a 6, we could win a massive pot versus a set of 7s, 10-7, ace 7, ace 3. So I think this is a pretty good call here. We got to do it. We're in position. If he gives up on the river, maybe we stab at it as well. But the river card is not good for us. It pairs our card, but it's the 5 of hearts, not the card we wanted to see. There's $3,700 in the middle, and unfortunately, High does not slow down. Instead, he overbets for $4,000. I think about it for a little bit, just a little bit of Hollywood before folding my cards. That was inevitable. I had to fold here with a pair of 5s. We're just beating nothing other than maybe king queen of spades is like one of the only hands I could see him raising the turn with. But when we fold our cards, he shows us pocket 7s. My favorite hand is disobeying its owner. Pocket 7s letting me down here. $7,700 pot with pocket 7s. High, you deserve it. All right, this brings us into the last hand of the night, my favorite hand, so buckle up, you guys. This one gets crazy. I 3-betted up to $450 from the cutoff. Why did I do that? Well, I had a few shots here. We're stuck on the session. King 8 of clubs seems like a decent hand to 3-bet with. BDC and Z-Fish both put in the call. Z-Fish was the original raiser, and BDC decides to just cold call all my 3-bets. So an interesting development here already. And flop comes pretty dry, 10 deuce deuce rainbow. When the action checks over to me, there's $1,400 in the middle, and I decide to go for a C-bet here of 500 and Cinco de Mayo, $555. Big Daddy Chaz puts in the call, Z-Fish folds, off to the turn we go, which is a great card for me to barrel on. It comes a 7 of clubs. I now pick up the king high flush draw. So when BDC checks it over to me, there's $2,500 in the middle. I like around a $1,900 bet here. That's exactly what I decided to do. I'm trying to put all of his hands in a tough spot. Pocket 5s, pocket 6s. What do you do here if I fire out for $1,900? Well, you probably have to fold, but you would have had the best hand. So when he puts in the call here, I'm now switching his range to something around the 10. Maybe he has a club flush draw as well, maybe an ace-5 of clubs type of hand, but I think he probably 4-bets me pre-flop with ace-5 of clubs. So at this point, I'm putting him on a 10, but I still have a lot of cards that can help me on the river. Any king, any club would be nice. Instead, it's a brick, the 5 of diamonds. My heart is in my stomach. I know I have to go for a bluff here. When he checks it over to me, there's $6,300 in the middle. Will Big Daddy Chaz fold a 10? My story makes sense. I 3-bet pre-flop, I bet the flop, turn, and now I fire through on the river. He's got to put me on jacks plus. I'm deciding how much to bet. I have around $8,000 in my stack, and I leave a little bit behind here when I bet out for $6,555. Big Daddy Chaz does not flinch 1 inch. He's thinking about it, thinking about it. At this point, my pulse is racing. I'm hoping he's not staring at that. I don't want to give off any tells here, but this is a massive bluff. There's $13,000 in the middle.
Be a 19,000. He lays it down. What a play by Wolfgang.
Nice hand, nice hand.
Love it.
What a play by Wolfgang.
He's back.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you pull off a nice bluff there, overbetting the river with the king high flush draw that bricks off. And of course, I got to show a little bit of motion after a big bluff like that.
What a play by Wolfgang.
And that's going to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. I was in for $2,000 to start, but after a bunch of rebuys, we're up to $19,000. I ended up booking a $37.80 loss, so unfortunately we drove all the way down to Austin and back just to lose $3,000. If you guys like this video, be sure to check out my channel, Wolfgang Poker, and if you want to catch some punts of your own, I'm playing on ClubWPT Gold every day of the week. Rampage, Brad Owen, Phil Ivey, and a bunch of other players are as well. Make sure you use promo code Wolfgang, because after all, you saw this video, you see how I play. Put in that code, go play on the site, win yourself some money, and as always, good luck on the felt, you guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace! That was really fun. I got a lot of big bluffs through. Obviously, we could have hit 8 cards there against high, and we just win a massive pot, but it didn't go our way. Changing the image this year. New year, new me. Going for some big bluffs, big pots there. We weren't shy for sure. If you guys want to help out and get some of that money back, ClubWPT Gold, use code Wolfgang. Yeah, we're gonna go splash around in the 1-2 streets right now. So yeah, from playing 18K pots to probably $300 to $500 pots. Should be fun. Thanks for watching. Let's hop into those games.